Now, Sri Lanka is continuing to grapple with the ongoing economic crisis. The island nation is virtually on the brink of running out of fuel. As protests over shortages continue, Energy Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara has now flagged a warning about the scarcity of fuel that the people will have to be confronted with. He's now said that fuel stocks in the island nation will not last for more than 5 days. Vijayasekara told the reporters, and I quote him here, "We are struggling to get fuel supplies due to the forex issues, and the government is working to manage the existing stock of diesel and petrol until the 21st of June. He's further warned that the government in Sri Lanka is finding it extremely hard to meet the demands, and stocks could run out faster if Sri Lanka does not cut back on non-essential travel and stops fuel hoarding. But Lanka is expecting some relief, though. The Power and Energy Ministry confirmed that Lanka is expecting petrol shipments within the next 3 days and another 2 shipments in the next 8 days. Now, the oil crisis has immobilized the South Asian nation, with citizens unable to drive their own cars, and public transport has been very severely affected. The number of buses on the roads have in fact reduced to a fraction of their previous fleet, and the app-based cab service are unable to ply as before. And Lanka is currently unable to make $725 million in overdue payments to suppliers and is struggling to open letters of credit for future shipments. While the country is struggling to meet its fuel needs, reports now suggest that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has said that there is no necessity for the total lockdown or curfew, as more fuel shipments are expected to arrive in the country by next week. But government sources suggest that the Prime Minister is mulling on introducing an online system for schools and public services for a period of 2 weeks starting on Monday. The President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has also reportedly denied any need for further curfews or lockdowns. Now, amidst the ongoing crisis, Colombo has received another shipment of diesel from India. The 40,000 metric tons of diesel consignment has been delivered by New Delhi, and India has been extending its continued support to the struggling island nation. The Wickremesinghe government is now awaiting official confirmation on $500 million credit line from the Indian Exim Bank, and has said that the same will be used to fund fuel shipments for the next few weeks. Now, India has been a key supporter during the financial crisis and has so far poured in at least about $3 billion worth of assistance, including $1 billion credit line and $400 million swap. Now, the island nation has also decided to import nearly about 50,000 metric tons of rice from India under the Indian credit line to curb an abnormal rise in the rise of prices. Meanwhile, the United States has pledged to provide about $6 million assistance to Sri Lanka to help aid the financial concerns during the ongoing economic crisis. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of how bad the situation in Sri Lanka is, we are joined in by our correspondent Dasani Athauda, who is joining us live from Colombo at this point of time. Dasani, this is rather a very grim sort of a predicament that Sri Lanka finds itself in, where the Energy Minister in Sri Lanka says that Sri Lanka could potentially run out of fuel in the next 5 days. How bad is the situation in Sri Lanka to access fuel at this point of time?
Good morning, Saleh. Well, yes, like you rightfully mentioned, things are looking very grim at the moment, especially with the Energy Minister coming out with that remark noting that fuel stocks are only available for the next 5 days or so, because the last shipment of fuel from the Indian credit line arrived at the port yesterday, and we are expecting a few more fuel containers and ships to arrive in the next week. However, the core issue right now is that there seems to be sort of a delay and a struggle in opening further letters of credit from the Sri Lankan banks to purchase these much needed fuel stocks. And we have to also keep in mind that just a couple of days back, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe also made a startling revelation noting that the current stocks that are available here in the country can only cater to 50% of the country's demand for fuel. Because of this, especially over the past 48 hours, there have been a severe shortage of vehicles on the road, especially to the tune of ride-hailing apps as well as public transport. Today is also a holiday here in Sri Lanka for school students along with government servants, mostly because of this fuel crisis and the problems that had arisen, especially for students to travel to and back from school.
Absolutely. Now, Sri Lanka is also experimenting with a 4-day work week, and one of the reasons why it has done this is because it wants to cut down on the necessity for people to travel to work. With the measures that Sri Lanka seems to have taken so far, has it in any way, improved the situation in terms of accessing fuel for the people?
Well, today is the first day that Sri Lanka is sort of going ahead with this 4-day work plan. Now, this 4-day work plan is only applicable to state workers, that to state workers who are not part of essential services. Given that, still, this does not solve the bigger problem of a fuel shortage, to be very honest, because just cutting 1 day of the work week does not mean that people will still not need fuel to go to work on the other days also. So, yes, this might have some form of reduction in the demand, but yet again, it does not solve the bigger picture, which is the shortage of fuel.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Dasani, for joining us and getting us all those insights there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.